The blue curtain of The Tonight Show swings open, and when Johnny Carson strolls into the spotlight, America relaxes. But backstage, the real show is just beginning. For decades, Carson faced a secret circus the audience never saw. Celebrities so high, wired or completely out of their minds that producers held their breath every time the curtain moved. These aren't rumors. These are the 7 wildest, most unbelievable guests who walked onto Carson's stage buzzing, tripping, stumbling, or flying. And somehow, Johnny still made it look like flawless television. Producers who worked with Johnny Carson say he had a sixth sense. The instant a guest walked on stage, he knew if something was off. Their eyes, their posture, the too wide smile, the signs were unmistakable. A former producer explained how Carson used tiny signals to alert the crew. If he touched his tie, it meant the guest wasn't sober. If he straightened his cards twice, it meant, keep the shots simple. We're about to enter unpredictable territory. Behind the cameras, production assistants scrambled. Segment producers whispered emergency plans. Directors tightened their focus. Because The Tonight Show, filmed inside NBC studios in Burbank, wasn't just television, it was a live highwire act. And sometimes the person walking the wire didn't even know which way was up. Most of the trouble brewed inside the green room, the pressure cooker where nerves and fame collided. In the 1970s and 80s, this room was stocked with top-shelf alcohol, surrounded by celebrities battling anxiety, and shaped by a Hollywood culture overflowing with pills, marijuana, and cocaine. One talent coordinator put it bluntly: a great appearance on The Tonight Show could launch a career overnight. A bad one could haunt a star forever. With those stakes, some guests leaned on chemical courage, and 7 such appearances became the wildest, most unforgettable nights in Carson's empire. The first is George Carlin, who walked onto the stage more than 130 times. During the 1970s, he transformed from clean-cut comic to long-haired counterculture legend. His humor sharpened, his tone shifted, and his bond with cannabis became impossible to miss. A camera operator remembered that unmistakable Carlin look, relaxed eyes, half grin, drifting but brilliant. The crew affectionately called him a functioning herbalist. But what made George Carlin incredible was that even while stoned, he was razor sharp. He delivered philosophical, hilarious monologues with a rhythm only he possessed. Johnny Carson, recognizing Carlin's unique groove, adjusted his interview style. He tossed open-ended questions that let Carlin wander into comedic territory no other guest could reach. Carson respected him deeply, but he never allowed Carlin to guest host, not because of judgment, but because Carson demanded total reliability from his substitute hosts. Later, Carlin admitted openly he was almost always high during those appearances, and somehow his comedy soared because of it. George Carlin was the mellow breeze, but Richard Pryor was the lightning storm of The Tonight Show, his brilliance mixed with volatility, shifting from hilarious to distant in seconds, while Johnny Carson quietly protected him, steadying chaotic moments and preserving Pryor's dignity. But in 1980, that balance collapsed when Truman Capote appeared in a heavily impaired state. His slurred speech and drifting focus sent the control room into panic. Despite Carson's gentle efforts, the segment unraveled. When the commercial break hit, Carson snapped, banning Capote for arriving unable to perform on late night's most important stage. Then there were the guests who didn't hide their state at all. Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong, better known as Cheech and Chong. Their entire comedic empire revolved around cannabis. And they entered the Tonight Show studio exactly as fans expected, relaxed, dazed, and hilarious. Carson loved interviewing them. He played the perfect uptight straight man, pretending not to understand their references, asking innocent questions and letting their rambling, stoned storytelling unravel into comedy gold. During one appearance promoting Up in Smoke, Tommy Chong launched into a disconnected monologue about filmmaking. Carson simply raised one eyebrow at the audience, and the room exploded with laughter. Everyone was in on the joke. Their appearances weren't embarrassing. They were iconic, but not every chemically influenced guest offered laughs. In 1970, Peter Fonda, fresh off the counterculture success of Easy Rider, stepped onto the set seeming to drift between dimensions. Staff members suspected LSD from the moment they saw his enormous pupils. He stared at lights, stared at his hands, stared into space, answering questions with long pauses and dreamy confusion. When Carson asked about his next film, Fonda launched into a surreal description of time bending around human consciousness like a giant blanket. That was Carson's cue. He tapped his cards twice, the emergency signal, and they cut to commercial early. When they returned, Fonda was gone. But Carson wasn't angry. He told his team they'd give him another chance later. And they did. Fonda eventually returned sober, delivering smooth, normal interviews, a reminder that even the wildest nights didn't define a career. One guest, however, crossed a line that Carson would never forgive. Oliver Reed, the British actor known for his hard-living ways, arrived in 1975 visibly intoxicated. He was loud, aggressive, and unpredictable. Within minutes, he interrupted Carson repeatedly, shouted bizarre comments, and shocked the audience by jumping into a sloppy boxing stance in front of the desk. The tension in the studio skyrocketed. Security edged closer. Crew members exchanged panicked looks. Even though Carson remained calm on air, he had seen enough. He cut the segment short and later issued a permanent ban. Oliver Reed joined the tiny list of guests forbidden from ever returning to The Tonight Show. For Carson, aggression and disrespect crossed the line no drug-fueled comedy ever could. And then there was the unforgettable night featuring Sammy Davis Jr., one of the most electrifying entertainers in Hollywood. His 1974 appearance was a whirlwind. Talking rapidly, bouncing between stories, sweating under the lights, his energy was off the charts. The crew whispered their assumptions. It was the 70s. Cocaine was everywhere. But the key difference was this: Sammy Davis Jr. never lost control. He was sharp, charismatic, hilarious, and absolutely captivating. When the show cut to commercial, Carson wiped his forehead dramatically and joked that he was exhausted just sitting next to him. It became one of the most talked about appearances of the decade. Wild but undeniably brilliant. Looking back at these 7 chaotic nights, one truth becomes clear: Johnny Carson wasn't just the king of late-night television. He was the calm center of a cultural storm. He was a crisis manager disguised as a comedian, a man who protected his guests even when they made his job nearly impossible. When stars arrived functional, he let them shine. When they drifted, he guided them back. When they crossed the line, he shut the door permanently. Through every unpredictable moment, Carson made sure The Tonight Show remained a place where stars could stumble without being destroyed. And that is why, decades later, these wild, unbelievable stories from NBC studios still echo, reminders of a time when live television was fearless, dangerous, and brilliantly human. If you enjoyed this incredible journey behind the scenes, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more Hollywood stories that the cameras never showed. Thanks for watching.